These are the solutions for the study guide for Math 8, 3.3 to 3.4. So let's take a look at our first problem. It says find the sum of the interior angle measures of the polygon. So the first thing I'm going to do is count up the sides I have, and I'm going to put little marks showing that I've actually counted that side. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I see I have a 7-sided figure. So sometimes we'll name it this way. So a 7-gon, which just means I have 7 sides or 7 angles. And so what that tells me is I can go ahead and use my formula, which says this. I could go ahead and take 7 minus 2, and that's going to end up giving me my... So I'm going to take 7 and subtract 2, and then multiply by 180, because that's my formula. It's just n minus 2, whatever the lengths of the sides are, or how many sides I have. So this is the number of sides, and then I multiply that by 180 once I take that, the number of sides, and take 2 away from it. So 5 times 180 is what we should end up seeing here, and that gives me 5 or 900 degrees is our answer for this one. So my next one, I do the same sort of thing. So I can either count angles or I can count sides. And so here it might be easier just to count the angles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 angles here. This is another 7-gon. And so I go ahead and take 7, subtract 2, and multiply by 180. The same thing I had done on the other problem. So 180 times by 5, we saw, gave us 900. And so that's what I'm going to set all the sum of these angles to. So the 113 plus the 121 plus the 114. And then I have to add on the 102, the 120, and the 106. So I'm adding all those angles together plus the x, and that's going to equal 900 degrees. So when I sum those angles, I end up getting 676 plus x equals 900, and I'll subtract the 676 from both sides, and that gives me 224 degrees. So looking at the next one, it says find the measure of the exterior angles. So we got 2 defined here. Over here we had just 1 defined. The exterior angle that was missing was that 224. All the others are given to us. So on this one we have to remember the rule for exterior angles. So the rule is all exterior angles of a convex, it has to be a convex polygon, sum to 360 degrees, and so that's what we're going to end up doing here. So it doesn't matter what type of polygon we have, whether it be a triangle, a quadrilateral, or a pentagon, or a hexagon, they always sum to make 360 degrees. The exterior angles do. So in this case, I add up the x's, I get 2x. Add up the angles, I get 120 equals 360. Subtract that 120 from both sides, and I end up with 2x equals 240. So when I divide by the 2, I end up getting 120 is x. So you got to look over here carefully. We've got 120 is this angle, but then there's another missing angle right here. So I have to add the 6 to 120, and that gives me 126 degrees. So those are my 3 exterior angles. So let's move on to the next problem here. And it says, tell whether the triangles are similar, and explain. So on this one, I want to go ahead and add up the angles of one of the sets of triangles here. So 46 and 58. And so when I sum those two angles, I end up getting 104 degrees. And so I'm going to take that 104 degrees and subtract it from 180. And that will give me my missing angle here. And when I do that subtraction, I end up with 76 degrees. So I look over here, and I know this is 76 degrees, but I see no other 76 here. So since there's no other 76, and there's 2 angles that are different in this case, I've got the 76 degrees and the 46. So there's no 46, no 76, so I know these are not the same. So I'm going to end up saying the triangles the triangles are not similar because the interior angles are not congruent. So that would be our reasoning here. And again, I can prove that by just summing these two. So if I sum these two angles right here, I end up getting 136. And if I go ahead and take that 180 away from 136, that gives me 44 degrees. So you can definitely see, sometimes you're going to end up having two angles being the same, or you'll have an angle being the same. In this case, I see no angles that are the same in this triangle. Sometimes you see one angle being the same, but two angles have to be the same in order for us to use the angle-angle theorem. So looking at this one, it says, what is the distance from point E to the lighthouse? And so lighthouse looks like it's here, and so we want to find out what this distance is. And so I know these triangles are similar because right here, this angle and this angle, they're the same. And I know they're the same because of vertical angles. So I could say angle DCE is congruent to angle, and then I'll go with ACB. And so I know that because of vertical angles. And so from there, since I have two angles the same in both triangles, I could say by the angle-angle theorem, both triangles are similar. So I know they're similar now. Now I'm going to go ahead and find out what that missing angle is. So I'm going to set up a proportion. X is to 100. Now I have to be careful. I just need to make sure that I get the corresponding sides set up correctly. So I said X and 90 correspond. So I'm going to put the 90 on top and the 36 on the bottom because 36 and 100 correspond. And so I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. Now before I do that though, I see a common factor here. So I see 9 goes into these numbers. I could divide them by 9 just to make the numbers a little smaller for myself. So that makes 10 and this makes 4. And I could even go a little further. I could divide by 2 and that gives me 5 here now, and this one gives me 2 when I go ahead and divide. So I'm going to use those numbers. So 5 times 100 equals 2 times x. So there's a number of ways to set up the formula. As long as 36 is diagonal from x, you're going to get the right answer. So 500 equals 2x. So dividing by 2 gives me 250. So 250 feet is that distance from the lighthouse to point E. Looking at the next problem, it says a gym teacher orders 42 tennis balls, and each package contains 3 tennis balls. Write and solve an equation to find the number of packages the teacher ordered. And so let's go ahead and do this. Let's call P equals the number of packages. So we've got to define our variable first, and then we'll go ahead and set up our equation. So 42 equals, because that's the total number they want, and then the package contains 3 tennis balls. So every single time, each package that we have has 3 tennis balls, so 3 times the number of packages is going to give me the total number of tennis balls. So they said to write and solve. So this is part of the answer. That's writing right there. And then to solve, I just have to divide by 3. And so when I do that, I get 14 packages. Well, looking at the next problem there, I have a problem that asks us about temperature conversions from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Is C equals, and then they give me the formula. Now they have us do 2 things. Notice it says to solve for F and find 45 degrees in Fahrenheit. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply this by 9/5. So 9/5 on both sides. And what that'll do is it'll cross cancel the 9s and the 5s, so I can undo the set of parentheses. So now I've got this, 9/5 C equals F minus 32. So from that point I need to add the 32 to both sides, and now I have this, 9/5 C plus 32 equals F. So from this point I can go ahead and solve. See, now I've got the formula And so now I can find out what 45 degrees Celsius is. So I can substitute the 45 in for C and then add the 32. And that'll give me my degrees Fahrenheit. So I do a little cross-canceling, and I've got 9 times 9 is 81 plus 32. And that's going to end up giving me 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's two parts to that problem. Make sure you get both parts in there. So here it says the perimeter of these figures are equal. Find x, then find the perimeter of the triangle on the left. And it doesn't matter whether it's on the left or the right because the perimeters are equal. So we got two parts here. We got to first find x and then find a perimeter. Find the perimeter. So those are the two things. So let's go ahead and find what the perimeter of this is. So I'm going to take the x terms and add them together. So that makes 6x. And then take the constants and add them. And that makes 7. And I'm setting them equal to each other. So 2x, 2x, and 3x give me 7x plus 1. So now I can go ahead and solve this by doing some opposite operations. I'll subtract the 6x from all sides. Leaves me with 7 equals x plus 1. Then I'll subtract the 1 from all sides. Looks like 6 is what x is. So that's the first part. But then they have me find the perimeter. Again, it doesn't matter whether it's on the left or right because the perimeters are equal. So I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to pick this one right here. So 2 times x, so that makes 12. And this will be 12 also. And then this one's 3 times x, that's 18 plus 1. And that gives me 19. So now I know all the sides there. 12, 12, 8, or 19. And then I add up those angles, or those sides. And so it looks like it's 43 units. It doesn't give me what the units are, so I'll just say units equals the perimeter. So there's two parts to that problem, so make sure you get them both down there. Here it's saying we want a ladder's leaning against a wall, forms a triangle, and exterior angles. There's two of them there, with the wall and the ground. So here's one of them. Here's with the ground. So the ladder and the ground, and then here's another one, the ladder and the wall. So those are the two angles I'm missing here. So this one here and this one down here. So first thing I'm going to do is add up the interior angles because that's what they give me. 5x and x plus 90 equals 180. So I add some numbers together, subtract the 90, so I got 6x equals 90, and then I divide by 6. So it looks like x is going to end up equaling 15. But that's not what I need. See, they're saying find the missing angles here. So I need to do this. I need to put 15. Well, for x here, just be 15. And so I could go ahead and find this missing angle. I could do 180 minus 15, and that's going to end up giving me 165 degrees. So that's one of them. That's with the ladder and wall is 165 degrees. And then I also have the next one, 5x. So to the side, I'll just do 5 times by 15 gives me 75. And so I have to do 180 minus 75, and that gives me 105 degrees. So 105 degrees is the ladder and ground. And those are the answers that we end up seeing there. So make sure we get them both in there, and you also find the exterior angles rather than just the interior. So those are the problems that you're going to see on this next week's test. Good luck.